Good afternoon and welcome to Link. This year we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the East. And our guest today, Dr. Segun, Shabaka, and Sister Malika, Amin, are here to help us celebrate. Welcome to Link.
Thank you.
Thank you
For having us.
Sometimes when I talk to my children and other young people about this era of the East and other things that were going on at the time, I often say, if I wasn't there, I wouldn't have believed that this actually happened. Because looking back after a half a century, and it's even saying those words, a half a century, it makes me kind of shake.
Yes.
And I do mean it. If I wasn't there, it would be hard to imagine that such a thing could have happened. What was the East? What was it?
Okay. Well, in my opinion, the East was a cultural Black Renaissance center for people of African descent. I say that because they accommodated everything that was cultural, political, spiritual for our people, educational primarily, because it started from our beloved G2 WAUC, along with students who were in resistance to the Board of Education and the public school system during that time. Mainly it was in the Ocean Hill, Brownsville area. They were doing a lot of protesting, and Brother G2 decided to move away from that and start his own business in terms of education with the Uhuru Sasa School, which was a part of the East, being the cultural foundation for people of African descent.
Now that's a nice little nutshell.
Yes.
If we talk about that little nutshell for the next 3 hours, we still wouldn't do it justice. Doctor, would you please add your nutshell for me?
Well,
We're going to get back.
Briefly put, I guess I can reiterate what Sister Malika said, and that is that the East was a cultural and educational center that evolved out of the struggle for community control that was going on in the city. And many people in the community had to think about where we were going. And this is the Black Power era. And so young people and some of the elders got together, and after that struggle was exhausted around community control, because the community was betrayed by the city and the Board of Education, they decided that they would start a school, because also many of the students that were active in that struggle for community control, they were junior high school and high school students, and they were pushed out of the system. And so they needed an opportunity to get their education. And the Uhuru Sasa was that opportunity. And it started as a high school. And then it evolved into the younger grades.
Right.
So, but with that East, it was a multifaceted, like you said, unbelievable phenomenon that emerged out of that period. And what it entailed is not just what was going on here, but really nationally and internationally, because there were several dozens of other formations like the East around the country.
Well, you just touched on so many topics. You talked about the fact that this struggle started in the schools. You talked about the fact that the community was, I would say, 100% behind it. somebody else can say 99 if they want. I'll say 100% behind it. It was a time when I think the people of New York, I'm talking about our people, had enough.
Exactly.
I think it was at a point where the people decided that they were and they can and they will make change. I think, I'm talking and you can cut me off at any
you're
point.
absolutely right.
The reason why I'm running my mouth and it's your show is because what preceded it was quiet suffering. From my point of view, I mean, I grew up in the school system in New York, my own self. We didn't have a voice when we were coming up. I mean, you did what you were told, and but there was a lot that was pent up. Now, as you said, it led to a whole lot of things around the city, around the state, around the country, and around the world. And we're going to get into some of those things. But I kind of have the feeling that when the time is right for anything, it's going to happen.
Right.
You know, now saying the word the East, it sounds like a building or a person or a group. But as we're going to talk about, this spread so far and so wide. And I mean, you never met me before, did you?
No.
I never met you.
No.
What I was doing at the time, we were connected to the East in many ways, but we had our own little workshop in another, it was nearby. Some of our programs intersected over the years, and I'll talk about that too. And you might not have noticed my sculpture was in the East. My husband's sculpture was in the East. Our student sculpture was in the East. Students from the East came over to the workshop. There was stuff going on that we didn't know one another.
Right.
But I just want to tell you, thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Because what you did in the East touched us every day. It touched us every single day. The food co-op touched our lives.
Yes. There was.
Seeing, I mean, my nephew went there, and probably other relatives and friends, children went to the Hirasasa. I'm going to stop talking right now. And you tell me, what was it like that first day when you folks decided we're going to do this?
Well, the first day I can't speak.
Okay.
I came to the East. I was a teenager, late teens.
Okay.
I came in 1970.
Okay.
It was in swing. Came as a volunteer because I had just came back in the city, left school, and I decided that there were two things I needed to do. One was get a job, and the other was join the organization, because that was the call to join, get organized. That was the call then. And so I came in 1970, and I volunteered there for a number of years. And then in 73, I came on full time. But I was working, I was going to school, and I was volunteering at the East, sometimes teaching. I was teaching in Ocean Hill-Brownsville, and then I'd come over to the East and work also. So, but those early days, we didn't have a lot, and we never had a lot, but we knew we were on a mission, we were pioneers, and we believed in our people. And from that experience right to this day, I know that African people can do anything they want to do, and they can solve any problems that they have and the world has. Because I saw it with my own eyes, like you said. I saw what we could do with little or nothing. And we educated our children. we dealt with feeding ourselves, we organized ourselves, and we weren't selfish as an organization. We were involved in local, national, and international issues at the same time. Right. So a lot of other groups back then may have been protesting, but we were protesting and building institutions. And I think that was one of the big differences about the East and other organizations like it.
Well, you bit off quite a bit. I mean, all of us couldn't do that. You know, all of us, some of us had to deal with our little bit of, our little piece that we could manage. You know, everybody couldn't. I mean, you folks had, like you said, so much. You did so much, and you tried to do so much. I mean, any one of your projects could have just been a whole focus. And as we've seen over the decades since then, people have just focused on one little piece of what you started and are doing that. All right, let's talk about, you started with the school. Tell us what was so different about that school? I mean, you'd see the kids walking around with their hair and their clothes and their eating fruit and vegetables and talking history and acting correct. I mean, sorry kids, but there is a cool way to be. They were cool.
Yes,
what was that? Tell us some of the differences between your approach.
I came to the East in '69 with my family, Yusef Iman. Prior to that, we were with the Nation, and then after Malcolm passed, we were with Amiri Baraka. Amiri Baraka took on the teachings and the philosophies of Maulana Ran Karenga, who was giving us Kawaida, which is tradition and reasoning, being African but being reasonable while we're here in America. So through those teachings, Amiri Baraka connected with G2AUC and wanted to implement that philosophy within the East organization. So I came into the East with my family, with Yusef Iman being the primary cultural promoter, setting up the cultural protocols for the East under the Kawaida tradition. And as well as I was a student, one of the primary graduates of Uhura Sasa. During that time, I was 15 at that time. And so it was about building the self-esteem of being proud of who we are as an African people. That's what it was about. The core principles and values of Kawaida is based on what we call the Nguza Saba, the 7 principles. Umoja, unity, Kujichagulia, which is one of our primary values in building up all the institutions that flourish throughout the Brooklyn. And so we have Ujima, collective work and responsibility, pooling our resources together to make it happen. Ujamaa, cooperative economics. Nia, we moving with purpose. Kawumba, creativity. My father was also in the arts. We all were artists, acting, singing, dancing. This we did under the family group name of the Wayusi Kawumba. And all of this was brought to the East for it to draw upon our people so that they can feel a sense of pride within themselves and being African people. And so I'm very proud and honored to have been a part of this, you know, still coming from the Nation onto Amiri Baraka, onto the East, and just being able to share with the world family, our world family, what it means to be proud of ourselves as African people.
And I would like to add to that, because I didn't even know she was a graduate of Sasa. So you can see, you know, this is the early high school where it started. But we stress academic excellence too.
Yes.
See, it wasn't just teaching history, the arts, the culture. No, they knew the 3 R's. You know, they
Yes.
knew history. They knew it was we fused academic excellence with cultural and social and historical and political knowledge.
Yes.
And that's what's lacking today in our students. And today, our students go through 12, 16, sometimes 20 years of education and never have a course in their own history.
Of
That's a
course.
crime.
Yes.
See, that's a crime. And so our people have to understand all of this madness that's going on out here with our young people is because they don't know who they are.
Yeah.
They don't know who they are, and they never get it in the public school system or get a iota of what they should know. But at Arua Sasa, every day.
Oh, I knew the little kids. You know, I mean, I saw them. They weren't joking.
Oh, yes, it was
Yeah.
serious.
It was serious.
It was definitely a discipline had to be implemented, and we definitely had to be focused on raising our consciousness to knowing and being proud of who we are. So history is so very important, and I think that's what's lacking a lot of it is because the public school system is designed not to share our true history. So this is why we really stress that a lot.
And you know, to add to that, a lot of times people don't know we had a daycare.
Yeah.
Also, Imani Daycare, Imani Child Development. And at that daycare, the students came out of daycare reading and writing and doing math.
Right.
And so they were already advanced when they came into the school at 3.
Right.
They were already advanced. But let's look at what's going on in society, right in this city. People are paying $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to have their kids in daycare. The rich, with only 3 or 4 other kids.
Yes.
You follow? Because they understand that early development.
True. It was also around the same time because Head Start was doing it. Remember?
Exactly.
But they
Yeah.
they didn't start it.
No.
They didn't start it. Let me just say this. This is going to be a 2-part show. So we're going to continue talking about all the things we're talking about. But I just want to make sure we get this in now because these shows will air a week apart. Just tell us some of the events that are going to be going on in celebration of the 50th year anniversary. We're going to talk more about it next show, but just so it gets on the air, some of the events.
Okay, well, one is February we had a forum on the East system. Malika was part of that. We had a panel to talk about the early years, the origins. In May, we're going to do a cultural extravaganza, May 18th at the Masonic Temple from 2 to 7 p.m. We have East All-Star musicians. We have Talivu Cumberbatch performing, and we have Asasa Ya. You can go to Eventbrite and get tickets for that event, or you could call the festival office, 718-638-6700. We're also going to have a parade that goes with the International African Arts Festival. People that came through Ahua Sasa to the East, we're hoping that they'll come out on Saturday, July 6th. The festival is from July 4th, Thursday through Sunday, but we always have a parade. We didn't have it the last year or so, but we're going to hope to reemerge with that parade, and the people from the East, it will be dedicated to the 50th anniversary of the founding of the East.
Right.
Because, of course, the East closed in about the late 80s. And so this is commemorate this year, 1969, that the East was in formation and to carry out all of these marvelous activities for African people.
Yes.
And did lots of good in the world.
And
Okay.
I'd like to just add that even extending beyond that, in December, there will be a Kwanzaa celebration highlighting this 50th anniversary of the East. They do it every year, But this one will definitely be focused on that celebration of our 50th anniversary.
Give us those dates again, please.
Yes.
The first two.
The first
May.
two is the main one is May 18th, Saturday, May 18th, at the Masonic Temple in Brooklyn. It's located at Lafayette and Claremont Avenues. And so that will be the East All Stars. That will include Donna Cumberbatch Quartet and a Sassia African Dance Troupe.
And would you give us a telephone number, please?
Yeah, telephone number again is 718-638-6700. That is the International African Arts Festival office. And so you can find out information about the event at our website, which is www.iaafestival.org. www.iaafestival.org. We're revamping the website, so by middle of next week, you should see all of this information on it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
you.
much for that. Your musical tradition is a mind blow. It's hard for
We had
people
lots
to
of
realize
jazz.
some of the unbelievable giants.
Great jazz
who
giants.
performed
Yes,
there.
indeed.
I mean, it was
Absolutely.
unreal.
Yes, between
Yes.
the East itself and the International African Arts Festival, anybody that was somebody came through there.
And anybody that
became
became somebody.
Yes, a
Yes,
lot of people
absolutely.
Came
That's
through
right.
there. Yes.
You want to throw out
Absolutely.
some of those names and some of the I mean, Leroy Jones. I'm sorry, Amiri Baraka's
Baraka?
play Slave Ship. It was.
She
Oh yeah,
was in it.
we did yes, my father directed that play.
Oh,
He
wow.
was in the original one
Down at
of,
the Brooklyn
of Amiri
Academy?
Baraka because he worked with him. But yes, and then he brought it to the East. And
we
boy,
put a
was
ship in there.
built the whole set design as a ship.
Oh,
And it was, like what Segun would always say, we presented shock theater more or less. But my father was I call him a cultural arts agitator.
Call his name.
Yusef Iman.
entertainment. What do you call it? Entertainment.
Yes, we call that entertainment that we were given, not necessarily just entertainment, But we wanted people to really take in the message, the energy, the power, the strength of the presentation and transform their lives, transform our life and raise consciousness. So, yes.
Now, what about some of the so-called jazz? That's a word they made up.
Roxanne Roland Kirk, Pharaoh
Maxwell
Saunders.
Abby Lincoln.
Yes, Sonny Rollins. We had everybody.
Betty Carter.
Keep going.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it was like an oasis.
But
Yeah.
you know what? But there was a lot of other artists as well that we were really proud of within the community. Baba Chief Bey. We had Baba Ishangi, who was, I call our African mathematician, because he was a stern traditionalist, African traditionalist, and he taught us not just from his music and dance, but he was a health activist as well. So he would give, lectures on health
And a lot
and
of his
healing.
students,
Yes.
Chief Bey and Ishangi, Denny
Yes.
Zulu,
Yes.
a lot of their students are in the culture today, promoting African culture and lifestyles.
Right. In fact, Asaseye, the ones who run Asaseye, the African dance group that will be performing on May 18th, they stem from Nana Denny Zulu. So the tradition continues in the next generation, and then we doing our work, who we are as parents and grandparents, and passing it on to our children, to keep the tradition alive, to keep their energy alive and their spirit alive, their name alive. We have to continue to always honor and praise our ancestors. So it's really wonderful to see Asaseye as one of the presenters that will be at the anniversary in honor of Nana Denny Zulu. So there was so many people that came through, and not on an educational level. We had the great mathematician there, and we had Baba Herman Ferguson, who was a great educator, principal. His wife, his sister Iyalua, was one of the teachers. Our very own Al-Van, you know, who became a politician, he was teaching at Ohara Sasa. And you know, we have to remember Brother Job Mashariki. Job Mashariki was one of, in fact, he taught political education at the East. This booklet, it was in honor of my father, Yusuf Iman, a model for black manhood. And he is the brother to G2AUC. So, you know, some of the teachers that were there were really on point and really about helping us to raise ourselves academically, politically, culturally, spiritually.
We're going to come back.
Okay.
We're going to talk more.
Okay.
But I knew the time was going to go by fast, but I didn't know it was going to go by this fast.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
we
you.
will return next week.
Okay, thank you.
Good night, everybody. And we'll see you next week for part 2 of this fascinating discussion about the East. Good night.